Welcome back, everyone. F1 2019 Season 2, Round 3 coming up. We have just 1 point on the board so far this season. Our storm from 20th to 10th back in Australia, and then we had a bit of a slip up at Bahrain. Not as good of a performance as we were hoping for, and the tire strategy just didn't seem to work out quite right either for us. But let's see if we can turn it around here at China. Our next team goal here, our hard level team goal, 32 championship points in the next 2 race weekends, which is, that's a good solid 2 podiums. So we really got to get back to end of last season form against this harder AI difficulty now. Starting now here at China. We have 2 successful developments, no failures this week, thankfully. Some chassis tire wear and grip developments that'll help us out. We finished our last rivalry with Sergio Perez, so it's time to pick another rival. Obviously, we're always going to have our rivalry with our teammate running, George Russell, which we've been pretty much handling so far this season. I decided to go after, this time, one of the McLaren boys, go with Carlos Sainz. He's someone I've been seeing pretty regularly around the track, so most of our results have had us pretty close to him in the last few races, so I'm going to go ahead and pick him out. So let's take a peek at our completed developments, see how our trees are looking up. We've got a few minors available for the chassis development, a major and some minors in engine, and same thing, major and 3 minors available in aero. So we'll see what kind of points we can put together after this weekend. Everybody's kind of made a little bit of moves. We managed to stay just ahead of Renault for 4th in the constructors build, and we'll take a peek and see just how healthy our parts and gearboxes are going. Our engine's starting to wear out a little bit. Probably going to be one of the last races we do on that ICE before we're going to have to swap in a new one. And depending on how we qualify at different places, we'll see where we can take some penalties. But let's get ready to head off to qualifying.
Welcome to Shanghai, China, for what I've no doubt is going to be a fantastic F1 qualifying session. So then, Ant, it's another Grand Prix weekend, another exciting qualifying session ahead of us. What are you going to be looking out for over the next few minutes?
The first question is going to be who can avoid making mistakes. There isn't much margin for error in qualifying, and you have to bear in mind that the track conditions may have changed since practice, particularly as we've had a few support races in the meantime. If the brake bias settings, for example, don't take this into account, it's extremely easy to lock up a front wheel and cause a flat spot. Just like that, your lap's ruined and you've wasted a set of tyres to boot.
Here we go. We are just going to hop straight ahead to our 3rd lap of Q1. We put in some banker laps on our first set of tires just to kind of get a feel for the track. And now we're coming out at the tail end as the track has gotten good and rubbered up here. Just behind the Red Bull of Giovinazzi. So we're going to try and see if we can't pick a little bit of a toe off of him. We are currently sitting P7 on the lineup, really, as long as we're above P15. Doesn't really matter what we do, but you know, when you're not worried about making it through Q1 and you're having some good consistent qualifying performances throughout the season, Q1's a good section to kind of practice and get a feel for how the car is doing. But you see we're 7/10 up on our best lap. We set a purple first sector, so we're best in session there. We're just in range to get a little bit of a toe on Giovinazzi here, so we're picking up a little bit of extra speed. Coming down the straight, as you can see our delta decreasing even further, and you can see late into the braking zone there, we managed to get up to almost a full second up. And if we can have a good final corner, we'll put up a very good time, which we do, and we'll pick up about a full second on our best lap on that last time around. So the toe definitely helped us out. We are P3 in the first session here, which is a good sign of things to come after a pretty tough Bahrain qualifying. So our teammate George Russell down the order there, but he does make it to Q2. So we'll hop into towards the tail end of lap 2. We're on medium tires here. We do have some rain incoming, so it was really a gamble of whether I thought I could set a fast enough time early on these medium tires because we weren't likely going to get another run in as we kind of rumble over. Not sure why I get to keep my time after that, but we cross line P6 at the moment. And again, everybody else is out on the soft tires, so we really just got to try and sneak our way into that top 10 As you can see, we're finishing up that second lap around and the rain is falling. So nobody's really going to be improving this time. This time around, I don't think. Maybe some of these last couple cars that cross the line just behind me on the soft tires are going to have the grip still. Because the rain is falling, but the grip hasn't quite fallen off. It really didn't start to fall off until I hit the last corner here. But see us turn everything down, try and save the engine as much as we can when we don't need to burn it up. So just trying to make it last this last race, and then it'll kind of turn into a practice session engine for the next couple weeks. But we just barely make it on that medium tire, so we're gonna have I feel a better race strategy on that medium. So here we are, lap 1 of Q3. It's dried back out for us. Luckily, the rain only affected that tail end of Q2, because I feel like we've got a good shot here around China. We're pretty much as good as the AI around here, so we've got a good chance of a solid performance. You can see a purple sector Q3, that big long straight, and we're running a slightly lower downforce setup, so we sacrifice a little bit in the early parts of the lap in the sweepers, but we gain a lot. I mean, that back straight is over 1 kilometer long, so it's plenty of opportunity to gain some time. And so here we are, as the session is about to end. 2 minutes to get around the track to start our final flying lap. You can see kind of my preparations as I go. Usually I just send it to flying lap for the first runs of the session, but for the final runs, after the track is rubbered in, I like to manually drive it out of the pits and do the full out lap. It allows me, I trim back my ERS deployment completely, but I keep the fuel mix running in its max just to burn off as much fuel as possible. So we'll hop just ahead as we've dialed it up through the first couple of corners here. We're running about almost a half second up on our best time. We're sitting P5 behind Verstappen. We crossed the line just about a tenth behind his best lap, but we are about to head into our best sector. So got to get on to the power early through this long sweeper. You can see it just gaining time. We're 6/10 up now on that delta. 132.1 now. Valtteri goes a little bit faster. So we are on target for a 132.6 or 32.2 right now, but a good run through the last couple corners can get us to that P1 position, and we are 8/10 up now, so we're almost a 132 flat. Good final corner as we power our way through, pick up and go into the 131s. It looked like for a split second there. We have P1 on the grid, the only car to go into the 131s. It was a 131.9.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Oldtimer, Bottas and Max Verstappen. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race. It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit then, a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests a driver's patience, and the flat, open to the elements location, tests their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and overtaking is available into turn 1 and of course down the kilometre-long back straight into the hairpin at turn 14. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Oldtimer lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel and Leclerc. Butler, Weber, Ricciardo and George Russell, Giovinazzi, Sainz, Pierre Gasly and Norris, Magnussen, Perez, Kimi Raikkonen and Alexander Albon, Stroll and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, remember to protect the inside on the run down to turn 1. Make yourself as wide as possible, robust but fair.
Alright, here we are, sitting nobody in front of us on the grid this time. Our second pole position of our career, and since we were the only car to make it through on the mediums through Q2, we, I feel, have the better strategy, a one-stop medium onto hard. Now, we are going to lose a little bit early on in the race here, especially the launch off the line. Those soft compounds are going to have a little better getaway. Hopefully, we can have as good of a launch as we did last time we had pole at Coda last season, where we were able to lead into turn 1. But so far this season, I've been still struggling with the launches, even though Codemasters say they've dialed down the AI's start ability. I still seem to lose positions on pretty much every start. So hopefully we can have a good launch, but we'll stick with that just default one-stop strategy, do about 12 laps on the medium and go the rest of the way on the hards. So here we go. We've got the 5 red lights out, and that they're out quick. We get on the power. Valtteri goes by us, and we're 3 wide with Verstappen and Hamilton, so we're going to have to stick it way around the outside, try and avoid the grass, but that's going to allow us to get down the inside for the next corner. So a lot of elbows out, argy-bargy work there, but we managed to hold second position off as Valtteri on that softer compound is able to get away through that sweeper cleanly, a lot better than us, as we had to really compromise our line and our lap time with these guys behind us. But we managed to shake out of that first little bit, P2, so not a bad start, but we're going to have to definitely work hard to stay in front of Verstappen here, who's running that soft compound as well, and also running a much higher downforce setup. I feel like myself and the Mercedes ran a little bit less downforce. Verstappen really seemed to handle the sweepers much better than us throughout the course of the race, but we managed to make up a good gap on the straightaway. We have a little bit of a tough exit there. We go a little wide on that long right-hand sweeper, so that's going to put us in danger of Verstappen, so we go ahead and dial up the ARS and fuel mixture as much as we can, but he is nice and in the slipstream. We are going to move to defend the inside here, make him go around the outside as he pulls alongside, leave him room into the braking zone. We've got about the middle of the track, teensy bit of a lockup, but we managed to outbrake him into that corner, so we're able to swing fully on the exit, cover him off so he's not able to take that position from us. We are skating a little wide through that last corner, so we swing off the Astro so we can keep a little bit more
Power
grip.
from the engine is going to be down slightly. It's showing some minor wear.
Oh, great. So we're already taking a little bit of engine wear early on in this race. Not super surprising. I was kind of expecting it as Verstappen uses that better grip through that sweeper to get by us. So we're going to have to slot in. And you can see just the extra launch he gets on that soft tire. Valtteri's really running away at the start of this race. Has had a great little stint here in clear air while Verstappen and I have been kind of fighting away, but we're going to try and see if we can't settle in and build a little bit of a gap to these the 2 Ferraris behind us. Hamilton looks like he got shuffled way back in the order there. He's now running, I believe, what is that, P5, P6 behind the 2 Ferraris. So if he's going to work his way back up to the podium positions, he's going to have to fight his way through two Ferraris that are showing some pretty decent pace as well. So here we are, a little better line through that sweeper. Really, the higher downforce setup that Red Bull is running allows Verstappen to get on the power a little bit earlier through that sweeper. We have to take a little bit of a less ideal line, so he tends to get a little bit better launch down the straight, but we have the better straight line speed, and you can see just how we're closing up on him. Not even DRS enabled yet. Weather-wise, we are expecting a teeny bit of rain at the tail end of this race, I believe. So we'll see what kind of, if it comes in the final lap like it did in Australia, or, you know, what kind of rain we're going to get towards the end. But until now, we're going to ride with our main strategy, the medium onto the hard, the one stop. We'll see if how the tire deg works out around this track as we go a little wide through the sweeper, but manage to hold our position. We'll see if the tire deg allows these other cars to go, you know, soft onto the hards. If that's the case, then it would have been better for us to make it through Q2 on the softs, because we are definitely giving up some pace in this early stint on the mediums for the extra longevity. So we'll have to see how this strategy shakes out. But after the first couple races being, the 2-stop was the ideal for both of those other races, I think, or at least had better pace for the quickest cars. We'll have to see what we can make work. But I still liked the idea of the 1-stop around this track here. So maybe everybody's going 1-stop. We'll just have to wait and find out. We seem to have settled ourselves into a bit of a rhythm here. Not much overtaking going on as the DRS is able. We're just outside of a range of Verstappen there, and I think we've got enough gap. No, the Ferraris have DRS on us, but we have a better straight line speed. So we're going to go ahead and hop ahead. Lap 12, we've inherited the lead thanks to the soft compounds pitting ahead of us. We are due in this lap, our last lap on our medium compound tires, so we're going to go ahead and hop right into the pits there. We could have had a little bit better pit entry. We definitely scrubbed the speed a little early, so we could have definitely been a little more risky, but you're going to see as Giovinazzi goes by, and then Gasly and Sainz run by. So a lot of the cars still running the medium compound that were further down outside the top 10. So we have a good quick stop there. You can see our real battle at Hamilton, Verstappen coming up. Bottas is through. They're on hard, so it looks like they have indeed decided to go with the 1-stop strategy, the soft onto the hard. Now we are going to have a little bit of extra tire life on them, so we have a bit of a chance to make up some gap there. But you can see we are going to have to takes about a lap and a half to really fire up the hard compounds to battle with these guys. So if we can stay in range of Hamilton here, though, keep DRS down the final straight, we can have a good chance of getting that position back from him. But the undercut on the softs definitely seems to have worked out better than running the mediums as long as we did. So thus far, it's proving to be the better strategy, but we'll see how the tire life is towards the end of the race. So here we go through the last big sweeper, the snail corners that Shanghai has a few of here, and we've definitely managed to stay well within range of Hamilton for slipstream and DRS. So we're going to go ahead and dial up the ERS deployment, open that back wing, and get a good run and pass him nice and cleanly before we hit the braking zone. He slots right in behind us. We have a teeny bit of a lockup. Didn't quite judge the overspeed right, but not too much that he's going to be able to take that position back from us. So now it's time for us to have to kind of fight and defend this position as he does get DRS down this next straight. We set that purple last sector again as we definitely show that we have the best straight line speed on the grid right now, but you can see how much he's able to close the gap through the first of these long snail corners with that a little bit of extra downforce. Like I said, he's running not quite as much, I don't think, the Mercedes are as the Red Bull. We don't lose quite as much ground to them in the corners, but we definitely make it up on the straights. A little bit of wheel spin coming out of the hairpins there as the hard tires are definitely finally starting to get fired up, but we have to take these sweepers a little slow. The hard compound not quite as grippy as the medium that we started on, but once they get well up to temperature, you can see that little twitch of oversteer as we came through that corner. That's going to put us in danger and under attack of Hamilton. A teeny mistake, had to counter steer to save the car, keep it from going around, but you can see now Hamilton filling up our rear view mirrors as we head through the sweeper onto the back straight. So he's definitely going to have DRS on us this time, and we are going to once again kind of defend the middle of the track, see which direction he goes. I think we're going to try and defend to the outside this time into the braking zone. We're pretty even. He dives it in. He's not able to quite get far enough along, so we are able to get the traction down a little early on him and hold that position off from that first attack. But if we can manage to stay mistake-free, I think we have the pace on this car to open a gap to him and really start to chase down Verstappen ahead of us. But that relies on us not making little mistakes like we did on the last lap and putting us in danger. Much better line through the sweepers that time. Managed to maintain the speed out of those corners a little better. And you can see that low front wing cam, how we cover these curbs, low flat curbs throughout most of this track. So you're really able to use them and ride them, especially in the corners, kind of cut down your distance. This sweeper, I didn't like the feel of running the curbs on that one, so I tended to avoid it. But you can definitely ride the curbs a lot here around this track. Allows you to run a little bit lower of a ride height as well. So that's why you see so many sparks as we're skipping along the ground. Probably could have gone one click higher on the setup for ride height just to avoid bottoming out quite as much. But I didn't feel it affected us that much in the corners. And having that low ride height allows us to sit close to the track, minimize drag. So that's part of the secret to our straight line speed around this track. Here we are, lap 15, so we're about a little over halfway through this race. We are starting to reel in Verstappen in front of us bit by bit, and we've, I think, managed to finally clear the 1 second gap to Hamilton. Yep, so he is out of our DRS range, finally. And now we have gonna have a good chance to kind of run along and chase down Verstappen in front of us, who was really slow through the snail that first set of it. So hopefully he continues to make some mistakes and we can really reel him in. But that's going to be kind of the fight that we have ahead of us. This season I really got a much better feel for the Shanghai track. Last season I was still kind of learning it, didn't have great feel of it, but I feel like this is a track I've really started to enjoy, honestly. Some people don't like it, think the corners are a little bit gimmicky, but it's a unique challenge. I definitely spent a lot of time in the practice sessions on the setups as well, because you could pick up huge amounts of time in the corners with a higher downforce setup. There's a lot of sweepers and that sort of thing, but you can also pick up a huge amount of time on these straights. As Jeff pops in and says, yeah, rain 10 to 15 minutes, so at the pace we're going, it's going to come pretty late in the race. So my mental strategy was feel it out, see how the car handles, see how quick the track gets wet, and also just react to what the cars in front of us are going to do. If they're going to push drives to the end of the race, then we don't want to give up the position, because an overtake is going to be very hard in the rain with the DRS turned off. You can see it looks like George diving in. I think he started on the hards. I'm not sure. I think he went hard onto medium. No, he was Q3, so he had to have been soft, so I guess he's doing a two-stopper, now that I think about it. But yeah, pretty big blends into these corners now, as the hard tire starts to feel some wear, and the lower downforce does not allow us to really lean into the corners on that car. A little bit of a tough track at times, though, with the tire temperature management on the softer compounds, especially this big long left-hand sweeper that on the soft compound is almost flat out the entire way. You really pick up a ton of temperature on those left side tires as you're sweeping through there. And even this long straight gives them a chance to cool down, but you're once again heating them a lot in this braking zone in another tight left-hander. So managing the tire temps is also pretty tough around this track, because there's a lot of long left-handers. So those left side tires definitely take a beating around this circuit. But we're gonna go ahead and jump ahead. Lap 22. We've had a couple of dives on Verstappen, but his extra downforce through that last little snail sweeper puts us just outside of range to really attack him in that final corner. We had about 3 laps in a row ahead of this where it was the same thing, and we really wanted to get that move done before the rain came. But as you can see, we're starting to see raindrops, streaks of rain running down the car. So we're going to have to really feel it out, see what we can do to manage the tires, and also see just how quickly the track gets wet. So obviously on the hard tires here, as the track gets wet, it gets colder, we lose tire temperature and therefore grip. It's a lot harder to keep these hard tires up to temperature. Obviously a softer compound would be easier to work up to temperature, just because you can lean on it a little more grip. But on the flip side, you also have you have to get it into a higher temperature to really get the best out of the tire. So, long run on these hards. In dry conditions, it looks like they definitely had the pace to go to the end after even pitting after a soft compound like the leaders did. So we're definitely catching up to Valtteri in front of us though. So it appears that his tires seem to be falling off a fair bit, and I think also as the rain comes, the higher downforce setup that Verstappen has is going to help him out, because he's going to be able to rely less on the mechanical grip of the tires and more on the aerodynamic grip in a lot of these mid to high speed corners, whereas myself and the Mercedes are going to have to dial it out, because we're obviously mechanical grip is going to fall off a lot more than the aero grip is early on. You can see the rain falling. You can see Hamilton out in the background there, just a couple of seconds behind us. So depending on how we can handle the wet weather running, we are currently sitting in a podium position, but we have a chance of losing that podium position. So we've definitely got to make sure to manage our pace and not take any strategy gambles like going early onto wets, which if I was further down the order or had a pretty significant gap to the car behind, if I was pit stop safe, as they say, or as I say, to do so, I would. But here we are, jumped all the way at lap 27, about to start the final lap. Everybody's still on their dry tires. The track is definitely wet, definitely slow.
This is your final
as you can see, we were 15
race.
seconds slower on that lap, but nobody came in for the wets. I think in hindsight, looking at the lap times, we probably could have given up the pit stop and made that ground back up, but again, there was just the cars behind were too close. We would have had to make probably 3 or 4 overtakes just to get our position back, and in the 5 laps that we had from the start of the rain to the end, really just wasn't gonna be a good strategy. But you can see how much wheel spin we're getting. A corner that was flat out on softs in the dry and just a little blend on hard is now a brake and a downshift. That left or right, what was that, left-hand sweeper. Really a struggle to just nurse the car around, but we've managed to maintain a little bit of a gap to Lewis. He been reeling us in the last couple of laps as the weather got exceptionally wet, but just a couple of more corners, really just managing the time gap behind us, as this was probably one of the most dangerous corners in the wet weather. On the dry tires, you can get too eager to get on the power. There's good banking to lean into, but a long sweeping corner that you just kind of typically want to try and get on the power early and lean into was very tempting to just step the back end out and spin around. But you can see just how we creep through the hairpin and just ease onto the power. We're not full throttle till we're almost shifting into 5th gear there. But you can see Verstappen came through, got through Valtteri for the win. And here we come across the line. We managed to hold our podium position.
Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you pulled through. Thank you.
Red Bull pulling out all the stops today. What a great win. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
Well, here we are, our first podium of the season. After a few very up and down races, we won't go 10th, 13th, and then 3rd. But we get to enjoy the champagne, and I noticed that they almost don't show the third place driver in the cutscene. It's basically the very beginning and very end.
So let's review the updated driver standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Max Verstappen seemed to just effortlessly weave through the other drivers today without a care in the world. He was definitely my driver of choice.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. Well, that was certainly an incredible weekend of racing. Be sure to join myself and Ant for more exciting Formula One action soon.
Wow, George must have really struggled. He's not even top 14, so that second stop, I think, really took him out of his race. I wonder if he picked up damage or something, but definitely doesn't help the team gaining in the constructors when you have one on the podium and the other completely out of the points. Without DNFing, as far as I can tell. So, you know, our goal as a team to be best of the rest. You know, that's not one I can do just purely by myself. I definitely need George to turn in some performances as well. But we are P7 at the moment in the Drivers' Championship. But that Alpha, led by Lucas right in front of us, is really pulling them up the table. He's had a podium already this season. Giovinazzi's not having a great season so far in the Red Bull.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. Another podium. You must be getting used to it.
Yeah, I mean, the
there.
team basically expects it now. It's a lot of work to try and stay at the top. As you can see from our first couple of races, that weren't that great.
You're breaking all expectations. What's your
Yeah, there's no secret. It's about having a great team.
Do you think that your close rivalry has helped you out this
I mean, he's
season?
my teammate. I think it, for both of us, it really pushed the team to work together and perform at our best.
The weather was miserable today, but do you feel this was an
I wouldn't
advantage?
say it was an advantage, but, having a great team helps out in the tough conditions.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Claire.
Just wanted to say congrats on the podium. It's thoroughly deserved. We were sweating those last few laps on the pit wall, but you brought it
Yeah,
home.
definitely something worthy of sweating about, considering the wet weather and the potential for a mistake to really cash in a couple seconds worth of gap. But here we are, back in the garage. We've got 1,900 resource points to work with and mess around with. So let's see what we can get out of that. We got 15 of our 32 championship points. So we basically need a P2 at our next race, a P2 or a win, in order to finish that goal and make it. It was a very tough goal to drop on this early in the season, especially for cars that should be finishing 7th, 8th, in the points, but not really top of the points. But a good drive will get us there. So we'll see what we can do. We've got a lot of options here this time in our resource development setup. I was pretty indecisive as I ran through this particular one. It's a good amount of points to play with. I think Aero we've made a good chunk of gains in. We are one of the better teams in Aero on the grid now. Chassis is really where we need to make up a lot of ground. As you see, I almost bought that major Aero upgrade, but decided to spend it elsewhere. I mean, I definitely want to keep improving areas that we're strong in, but I don't want to overdevelop one area of the car when we can really make some gains there. Because obviously you saw in the last race, having a good drag reduction characteristics, but we didn't have the mechanical grip to really contend in the low speed corners as well. So we do make a little bit of a tweak to our engine development. So we are putting on a major engine development and then also another tire wear development in the chassis department, so we can hopefully have better management of our tires, because that's definitely going to be an area that as these cars get quicker and quicker, we're going to lean on the tires harder and harder. That's also why the two-stop has been more prevalent at the start of this second season, I think, compared to season 1. But as you can see, everybody made a little bit of gains. That engine is pretty much toast. It's, I think at this point, just going to be a practice engine. We're at 46% wear after 3 events on our gearbox, so we'll see where we come out at the end of the next event. We might be able to finally not take an engine or a gearbox penalty. But next up, we are headed to Azerbaijan and the city circuit of Baku, right by the castle. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.